Welcome back to those that were just in the breakout rooms. How'd that go? I know Christian said it was very techy. Did you like that?
Michael, I loved it. And I haven't role played that really. I don't think there's a lot of opportunities in our environment to role play that. And I think that Nicholas and I had a good time. So I think that should be done more somehow.
Nice. No, I mean, the breakout rooms are a great way for a group that wants to mastermind around scripts, get together and role play. The breakout rooms on Zoom are a great way to do that. Back out here. So what did you guys learn during that breakout? What were your ahas?
Stick to the script.
Stick to the script. Who's that? Nicholas, right? Yeah. I mean, it's right there. You don't have to. Back with the KPA, it was so challenging because while the person is talking, you'd be thinking about what you're going to ask next. Whereas with this, you can ask a question, let them answer, listen, dig deeper, listen, dig deeper, and then when you're out of digging deeper, you just look down, go to the next question. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all right there for you. Awesome.
Michael, I was going to say the same thing because the script sounds so natural. It doesn't sound super mechanical. I was role playing with Christian and I told her, after she read it, I said, it sounds like you've read this before. It sounded very natural.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Barbara, it did start at 10:30. We talked yesterday. Anyone that wanted to do a role play on the KPAs can come early, and some of those folks did. So we're going to start the regular session in a minute. I'm just reviewing the role plays. So to your point, Samantha, and I kind of make it look casual. So if I'm looking at Madison's KPA, so for those of you that have Madison's KPA, feel free to look at it. After I go through hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate would you say the statement is? Madison can respond with a high level of emotional intensity at work. He deals directly with issues in a steadfast way. Let him comment, let him answer. What would make that a 10? Let him listen, let him talk. Tell me, how would you handle a situation where a decision is made that you may or may not agree with? Now, if you're looking at the thing, I'm reading the script, but I'm making it feel casual. I'll throw an in or a little comment in order to make it feel a little bit more casual. So there's other ways to do it to make it feel even softer and more natural. But yeah, I mean, it's done in such a way that it doesn't feel scripted and doesn't feel robotic. Any other ahas from that before we jump into the regular session? All right, well, thanks to I think there's about 10 of you. Thanks to the 10 that came in a little early to play. For everyone else, welcome to day 3 of Career Visioning. What were your ahas yesterday? Obviously, last night, you leave the session, you go home, you talk to your spouse about how exciting, or your partner, how exciting the class was, how much you learned. Any other ahas that you had after leaving yesterday's session? That was a live question, by the way. Connie, I don't know if you're talking to me, but you're muted, so you'll need to unmute if you guys want to make a comment.
It appears like I missed a lot, Michael.
Because you were on the other call yesterday, right? Were you not in the session yesterday? Yeah, we covered a lot yesterday, fellas. Just to give those of you an idea, we covered how to lead generate for an executive assistant, how to find the job profile, the ad for the executive assistant, how to screen the resumes, how to have the initial resume review conversation and skills conversation with the candidate on the phone, right into how to go to the first appointment with the KPA. And that's kind of what we're just finishing. We finished, so the process, just to revisit the process is review the resume, decide who you're going to meet with, and have about an 8 to 10 minute phone call with them to verify their work history and their skills. Then decide from there who you want to do an in-person interview with. So you send out the KPA, you schedule that first meeting that can be anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours. And the 30 minutes would be, if someone's not a match, you do a quick 15 to 30 minute review of the descriptive review in the KPA. And if they are a match, you plan for 2 hours, the first hour being the KPA validation, which is where we ended yesterday on the KPA validation, and the second one being the thought process interview, which we're going to go into next. As I mentioned yesterday, we're going to talk about the thought process interview for a few minutes, and then we're going to send you guys into breakout rooms. So again, if you're here, please have your camera on. Over the next 30 minutes or so, we are going to do some role playing as groups. So we're in about 8 to 10 minutes, we're going to throw you out into groups of 2 and 3 in order to give you about 10 to 12 minutes to do some role playing together. If by chance you happen to fall into a room where the person's camera is on, but they're not responsive, on the bottom you can click leave room. You'll come back to me, and we'll put you into a different group. Make sense? Mary Beth, the question?
That I did the exercise, create your value story for the market center, because we're looking for some roles in our market center. So it's clear it was such a great activity, and then to look at the lore report to really see what our story is, because our story is very different today than it was a year ago. Because we were a launching market center last year. So that was just a real good exercise for Matt and I to do, to really identify who we were, so then we could attract who we are.
Yep. And again, thank you for revisiting that. That was kind of one of the homework pieces we talked about yesterday. I asked you to kind of asterisk that one page in the book and go and kind of do who we are, what we say about ourselves, what others say about us, and kind of put that lore together. So thanks for revisiting that, Mary Beth. I greatly appreciate that. So again, today's first session is going to start with, give me a second here. Is going to start, come on. This is not working with me right now. All right. I am doing the wrong thing here, Emily. Can you get the PowerPoint up there? So we're on page or around page, in my book it's page 141, in your book it is page can you say page number on there? Yep. Page 146 in your book. Page 146 in your book. And if you're looking at the Job Fit Consulting Guide, you should be on page page 21 of the Job Fit Consulting Guide. So page 1 to 21, actually, I'm actually going to go back to page 20 of the Job Fit Consulting Guide. So what we're going to do in a few minutes is we're going to break out into groups of 2 to 3. So the cool thing is you don't have to find a partner. We're going to give you a partner. And you're going to use this Job Fit Consulting Guide to walk through the thought process interview. So what I mean by that is if I'm on page 20 of the Job Fit Consulting Guide, I'm just going to go through, I turned it off. I'm just going to go through this process. So again, I'm looking at page 20 of the Job Fit Consulting Guide. Do we all know where I am? Page 20 of the Job Fit Consulting Guide. And look, review the interview tips from CV with open-ended questions. The conversations can go in many directions. Be prepared to ask great questions, listen and analyze. Stay objective, be thorough. So again, at this point, we just finished an hour of the KPA validation. That might have gotten interesting. You might have had tears. There are times where that KPA validation, when you, especially if you dig deep and peel back the onion, you'll get into tears. So at the end of that hour, what you typically do is say, wow, thank you so much for sharing with me and being very open with me. I greatly appreciated that. And I really appreciated getting to know you a lot better. How about we take about 5 to 10 minutes? Get your cup of coffee, get water, use restrooms, let's recharge, and let's get back together. So this first meeting is 2 hours. It's an hour of the KPA validation. Take a couple minute break in the middle. Deepak, I believe we've sent them out a few times. Emily, can you post the Job Fit Consulting Guide in the chat? We will post the Job Fit Consulting Guide in the chat real quick, so if you're on a computer, you should be able to download that. So you take a few minute break, and then you come back together. And if I look at this middle of page 20, it says, hey, thank you for your candor again in that first conversation. I'd like to ask you a few more questions. Actually, sorry, let me correct myself. This is what you'll actually say at the end of the KPA. So thank you for your candor. I'd like to ask you a few more questions. Before we get started, would you like to take a break? and get your water or coffee. So again, this will give you a chance to kind of have a little break. Now, what you might find at the end of that KPA assessment is this person's not the right fit for the job. And you might decide to exit gracefully after the KPA validation. What do you think the exit gracefully script is? What do you think the exit gracefully script is if you decide to exit gracefully at this stage? It's on page 20 of the Job Fit Consulting Guide. And you might have heard this before. You will hear this again. This will be the second time we read this script. We'll probably go through this script 6 times. The role we are currently offering would not be the best match for your incredible talents. I'd like to stay in touch, and if I hear of anything that would be a good fit for you, I will certainly let you know. I would also be happy to hear from you if you know of anyone you feel would be a good fit for our organization. Do you remember that script for those of us on the call yesterday? I believe some of you said, wow, we're actually asking them for a referral when we're telling them they're not getting the job. Yes, we are asking them for a referral because that's what we do. We are realtors, and we always ask for the referral when we have the opportunity. If you do decide to move forward, you're going to go with, you are a close match for this position, and I'd like to continue the interview process. Again, at this point, we're going right into the second interview, the thought process interview. So you'll see on page 21 through probably 27, 28, there's about 30 to 40 questions on here. So we're going to break out into groups right now of 2, and I want you to practice going from the segue. Thank you for your candor. I'd like to take a quick break. I'll get together for some coffee and come back together and start asking the thought process questions. You guys with me? Make sense? Everyone know what you need to do? If you don't have the KPA, please download those from the chat box right now. As soon as we send you into the breakout rooms, you will not have access to this chat box. So if you need I would look at the KPA team leader job fit report. You want to download those 2 job fit report downloads because we are using the job fit report, not the KPA personal report. All right. So you guys are going to jump into breakout rooms. You'll each have about 7 to 8 minutes. We'll give you a warning at the top of your screen. It will say switch in 2 minutes. That tells whoever's speaking to wrap up a couple of questions and then switch. And then when we're ready, we're going to give you a warning. You'll say you'll be exited back out in a minute. And you'll give you a warning when we're going to pull you back into the big room. So how many people do we have on the call? 76. So break it out into 30. Wow, just lost a couple. We said breakout rooms. We had 3 people disappear. Like, we're out of here. We're not real playing. We're going to come back when it's done. So again, if you go into a breakout room and your partner isn't responsive because they're not on video, click on leave the breakout room. You'll come back to me and Emily, and we'll send you back into a breakout room. No, 2 to 3. So why don't you make 30, 34, 35 rooms? 25 rooms. All right, so 25 rooms is the max. So you might be in groups of 3. So if you're in a group of 3, in a group of 3, just change every 5 or 6 minutes versus 7 to 8 minutes. Make sense? Michael Guerra, you're in charge when we go to the breakout rooms, buddy. All right, guys. We'll see you in about 10 to 15 minutes, about 12 to 15 minutes. You're going to get a message pop up in your window that says the host is inviting you to join breakout room. Click on join, please. We'll see you guys in about 15 minutes. That's hilarious. What a bunch of wusses. Oh.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I will explain what that means when we come back. Emily was just telling me we went from 74 people to 65. A bunch of people jumped off. I will explain that to you when you get back.
Hey, Emily, nobody's in my room, so I came back.
What room were you in?
15. I was.
I sent. So Mary Beth, you could see the folks that didn't click on the breakout rooms.
Yeah.
Michael, Karen, you're back. Were you not in a room? Were you in a room with nobody?
I was alone.
Oh, Michael, I'm so sorry. You should never be alone. You guys can actually see the folks that did not click on the join the breakout room because they're not at their computer. This is fun, Zoom, isn't it? So,
That's why I was laughing earlier.
Michael, what room were you in?
Room 23.
So you put Michael in a room other than 23. Karen, what room were you in?
I think 25.
Well, give me Mary Beth. I'll go in a room with Mary Beth. Like,
Yeah,
I guess Courtney,
take
Ken,
us out,
Anthony,
you know?
Are you guys back because you went to a room where no one was there?
Yes.
You guys can see the folks. You guys can see the folks that didn't click on the join breakout room that have their computer on but aren't watching. So we're gonna make fun of those people later. So we're gonna try to sort you guys into a different room. Give us just a second. What's that? Oh, Ken's not talking to me. Live mic.
Michael, is it possible to be in a room but not participate? I know it's a stupid question, but I have to jump on something really important, but I do want to hear what's going on, and I just don't want to screw up the rest of the room. Can I just be a fly in the wall?
Put him in with me and Mary Beth.
I would love
that.
that.
Can you put Stan K, Mary Beth, and Michael in a room?
Thank you.
Yes!
Stan K, what room were you in?
I'm not. I declined because I wanted to ask you that personally before I screwed up anybody else.
But what room did it say it was trying to sort you into?
You know what? I don't even know, to be honest with you.
Okay. She just put you guys into a new one. Go back down to the bottom to say join breakout room. Mary Beth, you go to 25.
Room 25, it's showing.
Yep. Actually, do me a favor. And let's put Courtney, Anthony, and Nancy into a room together as well, since they're here. First time I'm doing this, I'm realizing it's hard to do the breakout rooms when people leave their computers. Put Anthony Roros, Nancy Coviello, and Courtney Orlando into a room together. Your microphone's not working, Courtney? Okay, so
Michael,
Anthony and Nancy, when you go into a room with Courtney, know that it might be you guys role playing. She's having microphone issues.
All right.
All right.
I thought I was
Mary
doing
Beth
one
and
with
Michael, you go down and click on the breakout room in the bottom. Did that work?
Oh, you got to click on breakout room, join break.
Yeah, you gotta go back to the breakout room. Are Anthony, Nancy, and Courtney ready? All right, Nancy, Anthony, Courtney, at the bottom, click on join breakout room.
at the top.
Is that the top on yours?
Yeah.
Are you on an iPad?
No, I just got it on my phone because I had other stuff going on the laptop.
Cool. Hey, Lisa, was no one in your room? You're muted.
Yeah, no one in my room, but I'm having internet problems, so I think I'm going to need, because it keeps shuttering, I think I have to move my location anyway. I'm going to try to go downstairs closer to my modem, so it's okay. Kind of works out.
Okay. So if you want to, just turn off your camera for the moment, and we won't worry about sorting you into a room right now.
Okay, sounds good.
Moses, do you want me to put you in a new breakout room? Nope, he said, I'm out of here. Okay.
Michael,
Hey,
can you
Ken,
put me in a breakout room? I was just in a call.
Can you put Ken in a new breakout room?
Thank you.
Click on the bottom of the top, join the breakout room. If you're on an iPhone, it might be at the top. If you're on a computer, it's at the bottom.
There's no one in my room.
What room are you in, Nancy?
Let me see. I said join breakout
I just
room.
came back on.
12.
Sorry, guys.
12. Where are you?
12. And Anthony, what room were you just put into?
You're muted.
You're muted, Anthony. Anthony, you're muted. I can't hear you, Anthony.
Sorry. I was in room 23. How about now? No, now?
No, don't go yet. Can you put Anthony in room 12 with Nancy? So Nancy, go back to your breakout room. We're going to put Anthony in your room and put Courtney in room 12 as well.
Thank you.
I won't be doing the breakout rooms again in this call.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, I just actually came on the call. Is there any way I can just listen in on somebody's conversation?
Why don't you put her in with Mary Beth and Michael Guerra? Yeah. Listen, we're going to put you with 2 team leaders, so you should.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael.
You got it. Check with her. You've got the contact info right in.
Until they, yep.
Hey, it was nice talking to you. I'm sorry we didn't get to finish.
Loved it.
Well, that was a painful experience. So let me explain to you what happened before you guys left. So I found out good news. We won't be doing the breakout rooms again. We will not be doing the breakout rooms again. We discovered two things happened. Some of you might have heard me make a comment about the wusses, so to speak, word I use, that left. Because what we found is about 12 people left the call as we were getting ready to break them into breakout rooms. So they said, oh, breakout rooms, we're out of here. And they jumped off the call. And then we found there was about another 15, 16 people whose cameras were off and they were muted that must have walked away from their computers. You can't see me. There I am. We had about another 15 people that weren't at their computers. So we had a bunch of people go to a breakout room where there was no one there, and then came back and we had to resort them. So good news, we're not doing breakout rooms again. For those of you that did get to a breakout room, I love it. Thank Dana, Mary Beth, Carly, Nicholas. Share with me your ahas of what you did experience when you got to a successful breakout room. Feel free to unmute yourself, Carly.
I'll chat. So I don't like role playing at all. And I feel like the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And the gals that I was with made me feel comfortable, which was really nice.
Awesome. Who are you with?
Christina and Samantha.
Cool. Yeah, and that's kind of cool thing about the experience. As far as the role play goes, in this class, where you can get to learn. I keep seeing a parrot coming out of your screen, Mary Beth. Or pirate. Is that a pirate back there? I can't tell the way it's all. It's a great way to learn about strangers. I mean, here you are in a room where you're breaking out with people you don't know. And how much did you learn about the people in your room in a quick 5 to 7 minutes? Quite a bit, right?
I learned so much from Michael in just maybe 4 questions.
Yeah. Imagine what an hour with that person would do for you. Imagine how much you can learn about a person in an hour. To take a quick look, definitely needed more time, without a doubt. That's why, again, this is designed for an hour. And in an hour, you might only get through 10 or 12 of those questions. So I'd love for you guys to look at the questions real quick. Look at the thought process interview. And I'd love to have you shoot out what question you like the most. So take a look at the questions on page 21 to 26, 27. What questions do you enjoy the most?
I always like the weakness questions because it kind of puts people in a spot where they kind of have to tell you something, that may lead to something else, Yeah.
I was on a call with someone earlier, and my question for her was, tell me about the biggest failure you've ever had. And when you can have someone be real with you on it, it's a great way to kind of get deep. But Jessica likes the weakness questions as well. What other questions do you like?
Hey, Michael, I love to hear about what books they're reading.
Yep.
Because just like you are what you eat, you are what you think, and I want to know exactly what they're reading.
Yep. And what else does that tell you? Whether or not they're learning based, right?
Yeah.
If they can't come up with a book, then that tells you a lot. Now, there was a phase about 7 or 8 years ago where I had to change that question, Dana, to what business book are you reading right now? Because I went through a phase for like a year where everyone was reading Shades of Grey. It got really wonky and weird in a career visioning conversation because I had nowhere to go with that.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think some of the questions, Michael, about the what they think is a good manager and what they think is not, I think it's important. It really shows if they can take direction versus or if they can actually do a job without having to ask their manager, every little step, if they're more entrepreneurial or, So I think that really leads, if you go deep in those questions, I think you can get a lot about somebody with how they approach their work life.
Yep, without a doubt. So anytime you ask questions about their peers, their manager, I love your ideal relationship with the coworkers that Nick put up. Who are three people you admire most? Lauren Byron, that's a real good question. If you don't get together on this job, what career move will you make next? I was put before a team leader candidate a couple of years ago. So an OP says, I've got this great candidate. He's fantastic. He does, about 13 to 15 transactions a year. I think he's perfect. And so I got together with him and the OP in the room, and I asked that question. If we don't get together on this job, what career move will we make next? His answer was, I don't know. I'll have to go out and get a real job because I can't make any money in this business. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I thought you've done 13 transactions in the last year. Well, 12 of them were rentals. 12 of them were rentals. He probably made about $11,000. And I turned and I look at the OP. The OP was like, huh? So where it went to for me was, what's the job of a team leader? The job of a team leader is showing people how they can build a business in real estate. And if our candidate can't build a business in real estate, how can they possibly show others? Emerging technologies, Christian, no, I do not ask each and every one of these questions. If I can get through 12 to 13, that's a good day. So what I will do is, based on what I saw in their resume and what I learned in their KPA assessment, I will try to pick out the 12 to 13. For instance, if I've got someone that's not a high match, if I've got someone that's maybe a medium match or a little bit to a high-low match, my favorite question, if they're not a high match, is how long are you willing to fail at something before you succeed? Because again, if they're a low or medium match, doesn't mean they can't succeed. It just means that they might have to go through a little bit more struggle in order to succeed. So I love to ask the question, again, if they're not a high match, how long are you willing to fail at something before you succeed? And I asked that question to a candidate about a week ago, and he said, well, I've never given up on anything. So I'll tell you, I struggled about 3 years in this before it turned right for me. And then he spent 7 years doing that particular job. So again, based on what you learn about them will determine which ones you have. Sinead, I love that one too. Describe a major personal decision you have made. Ashley, if we were sitting here a year from now, what achievements will we have achieved together? So cool questions, right?
Yeah.
Jose.
I just want to share this. Like, one of the things is, for me to get the real estate license, I didn't give up about. I had to fail 8 times with the test, and I passed in the 9th.
There you go. Oh, glad you did. Glad you didn't give up. And this goes back to that was a different call. We did a call last week. Mary Beth, I'm not going to put you on the spot again. We did a call last week where we went through Portrait of an Achiever. If you guys have never read that little story, it's Portrait of an Achiever. And it goes through a series of failures. Failed in business, bankruptcy, failed for Senate, defeated for Congress. Fiance died. Phyllis, you were on that call too. Nervous breakdown, and it went through about 16 major failures this person had before being elected president. And it's a story about Abraham Lincoln. So if you can ever go and pull up Portrait of an Achiever, I like to understand someone's grit. I like to understand someone's resilience. How often can they get knocked down and get back up? That to me is one of those things I look for in this process, because any job that we might put someone in, they're going to fail. And are they going to fail and run? Are they going to fail, get up, brush off, and get out and do it again? So cool, right? So how many interviews have we been through so far? What phase in the process are we at the moment?
We finished 2 hours of interviews.
Yeah, we finished 2 hours of interviews so far. So we went through, just to go back a little bit, see if this is going to let me. It does not like me. Nope. It helps if I turn it on. We went through, again, the phone call where we kind of validated their experience, validated their skills. We met with them for a KPA. We spent an hour assessing the KPA. And then we just spent an hour doing the needs, the thought process interview. So at this point, we've gone through an understood behavior. We've understood the way they think. We've seen some information on their knowledge and skills. And now we're going to get into the third phase, which is, this is actually my favorite part of the conversation. And this third interview, so again, there's a break. You had the first 2 interviews. You thanked them for their time. You went away. This might be 2 or 3 days later. You're going to get together and do what we call the life story interview. The life story interview. And in this interview, you're going to understand their thinking, the way they think, how they fit to you culturally, and get an idea of their track record. And to me, I'm actually going to get off this for a second. To me, life story trumps everything else. I want to understand how this person succeeded throughout their career, where their failures were, where their struggles were. I want to understand their trajectory. Their trajectory. Is this step that we're talking about now the next natural step in their career? I'll give you, for instance, of a negative one. I sat with a team leader candidate about 7-8 years ago. We went through their life story. And the life story said, I was succeeding. I failed, lost everything, dropped down here. And then I built back up. I dropped down here. I built back up. I dropped down here. So what I had to map out is, where on this person's life cycle are they? Are they at the point where they're at the top and they're due to fall off again? Or are they building back up, at which point they'll eventually get to the top and fall off again? So I decided, because their life story showed a lot of ups and downs, that person wasn't worth taking the risk in hiring. Whereas there's other people that just are constantly growing and succeeding and showing. So what I want to do here, I'm going to choose not to send us into breakout rooms. I'm going to do a quick 10-minute abbreviated version of this, a 10-minute real play. Does anybody want to be the guinea pig in this one? I mean, does anyone want to be the volunteer? Anyone want to be the volunteer in this conversation? Anyone want to have a brief life story conversation with me?
I'll volunteer. Let's go.
Who's that? Is that Rhea? Rhea?
Yep, Rhea Aparicio.
Rhea Aparicio. So great to meet you. How are you?
Great to meet you, brother. What's going on? Talk to me.
Living the dream. Living the dream. So, again, I'm getting back together with you. And again, if I go back to my career visioning, I go back to my workbook, right? If I go back to my workbook, it'll be here on page 26, where it's going to kind of put together all the questions you need to ask. So, in this conversation, and again, on page 27, it gives you the script. So don't feel like you've got to recreate the wheel. In this conversation, hey, Rhea, what we're going to do, Ray or Rhea? Is it Ray Aparicio?
Ray Aparicio, yep.
So, in this, if I just read the script, make it nice and easy. Hey, Ray, what we're going to do right now is write your professional autobiography. Starting with the last time you were in school and moving forward, it's kind of like your resume. But we're going to go a little deeper than that. This is a chronological narrative of the defining events in your life. And it gives me the ability to get to know you a little bit more, what happened and what you learned. How does that sound?
That sounds fantastic.
So again, what I typically do here is I draw a couple of lines. I say, job, date started, role, earning, date ending, why. So actually, I take them through their resume in a one-on-one fashion, and there's lots of people that do this a different way. I know Mary Beth does the life story very well. Justine Lazara, if you ever have a chance to take her vision with Justine, she does an amazing life story. She uses multiple colors and maps it out different ways. And in a perfect world, this life story can easily be, Darren, Justine is awesome at this. I mean, I've been in classes where I've let her run with it. I would let Mary Beth run with this now, but we have a very dense timeline, which makes it a little challenging. So what I do with this is this will sometimes go an hour to, I've had life story interviews go an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on what kind of experiences they had. So Ray, let's go back to the first job you had. Keep it more broad. What can you tell me about the first job you ever had?
First job I ever had was when I was about 8 years old. I got a job on Bergen Line Avenue in West New York. I was working at a retail store. I was a stock boy.
At 8 years old, isn't that technically
Right.
illegal?
It was. I was paid off the books, and I door knocked the business to get the job. So it worked out for me.
8 years old. So again, if he uses ages, I'll just kind of put an age in there. So I'll keep going with this. We'll come back to what we learned afterwards. So how long did you do that at 8 years old? And how are your parents about that?
Just a couple of months. My parents would pass by, drop me off some food and stuff. They knew the guy, so it was okay. My first legal job was.
Let's start with legal. Let's start with legal.
My first legal job, I was a busboy at P.F. Chang's in West New York, New Jersey.
P.F. Chang's. So you're in the Fort Lee Market Center?
I'm sorry?
You're in Fort Lee or Hoboken Market Center?
I'm in Parkviews, baby. Let's go.
Parkviews. There you go, baby. So Parkviews in the house. So P.F. Chang's, what year was this?
Brother, we're not going to go there. I'll tell you, I was about 16 years old. I was in high school. I don't even know.
So, and how long did you work there till? How long did you work there?
About 3 years. Yeah. I made it all the way up to a line supervisor position.
Okay, so you started as a busboy?
Yeah, and then I became a runner, then I became a waiter, and then ultimately I was a supervisor on the line.
Nice. So what kind of money were you making when you started there?
It was majority of it was tips. The tips would vary, but on a good day, I would have $200 to $300 in tips a day.
Okay,
that was a good day. So, I would say 30 a year, so let's call that.
And when you were leaving, what kind of money were you making?
Oh man, I was getting like 150 a week, man, or something, which is a lot for an 8-year-old.
Oh no, I'm going back to P.F. Chang's, man. I'm at P.F. Chang's now. I'm not talking about the illegal job right now. I don't want. This is being recorded. I don't need child labor coming after me for this.
Yeah.
So when you left P.F. Chang's, what kind of money were you making?
Oh, okay. So when I left P.F. Chang's, I got offered another job as a security guard in Meadowlands Hospital, which really allowed me to really get down my customer service skills. And over there, I was making about 45.
I'm going to go back to P.F. Chang's for a second. You started as a busboy. You ended as a line supervisor. So that $30,000 you were making, was that a line supervisor?
Line supervisor, yeah, 30-something. I was like about 35 or so.
So you were going from about $100 to $200 a day as a busboy to $30,000 a year as a line supervisor.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to get out of this, guys, is what kind of development did he have within that role, within that job? Did someone start making, again, part-time busboy making tips to an employee that was a line supervisor? So again, we see growth in that job. So when you left P.F. Chang's, did someone find you at P.F. Chang's to offer you the Meadowlands role? Or how did that exchange happen?
Yeah, so I left for the money. Someone in my family, my mom knew someone in the family, and her husband worked at this job, and this lady ended up being my mother-in-law. But we found the job, and then that's
ended up being your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Did you know she was gonna be your mother-in-law at the time?
The first time I saw my wife, I knew. I ended up working there, and I met my wife there, and then so it ended up working out really well. Not only did I leave for more money, but I left for a good marriage, huh?
Awesome. How long you been married?
10 years, brother. Next year.
Awesome. Congratulations. God bless your wife. So you went to Meadowlands Hospital as a security guard. How much money were you making when you started there?
I want to say that was about 40 or 45 a year, roughly.
And then how long did you stay in that job?
Probably about 2 years or so. I got a job after that at Verizon Wireless. So that was significantly more pay.
So when you left the security guard, did you see any growth in your income there, or were you making about 45 the whole 2 years?
Well, I was in charge of making my own money. So, of course, I pretty much made more than everybody else because I did a lot of per diem hours. I would do a lot of double shifts, take a break. Sometimes, even though it was like frowned upon, I would do a triple shift. I did everything I had to do to make the most amount of money possible.
So what's the most money you made while you were there?
I don't know how much it would have been per week. I know that the most would be like about 45, maybe touching almost 50 at that job. But there was a ceiling for sure, no matter how hard you worked.
Awesome. So then you left there for Verizon. Was this for more money as well?
Yeah, so I graduated with my bachelor's. If I recall correctly, I graduated with my bachelor's and I started job hunting, looking for something for a career. And I met someone who worked at Verizon and I started talking to them a little bit more. I ended up applying, and right off the bat was $50,000 a year as a customer service representative. I was promoted to a sales rep within 6 months.
Okay. What was that income opportunity as a sales rep?
I got into the 70s at that point.
Okay.
I was one of the better reps there.
So how long, you said you were in this role about 6 months? And then how long were you in the sales rep role for?
I want to say roughly a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I got promoted pretty quickly to a assistant manager position.
Okay. And what kind of money were you making as an assistant manager?
That was about a little over 80. It was close, but I did it for the move to focus on my vertical to move forward my career, because how long can you be a sales rep before I've always seen the bigger picture, and the bigger picture to me was moving up and growth.
Awesome. So how long were you in the assistant manager role?
Probably about another 2 years or so. After that, I became a general manager.
Nice. Now, was this a Verizon retailer or was it Verizon owned?
This was a Verizon retail store, corporate Verizon, and I was so successful as a manager, I actually won a trip to Monte Carlo. It's called
Nice.
President's Cabinet. Only 1% of the sales force can win that.
Very cool. So how much money were you making as a general manager?
Over 6 figures. It depends. Towards the end of it, I was about maybe 110, 120 or so.
Nice. Why'd you leave that gig? I mean, it sounds a bit you're in your mid to late 20s making 6 figures. Why'd you decide to leave that?
Well, because there's that sounds like good money when it's written down, and and it was a comfortable job to have, but my family's owned real estate for a long time, and I met someone at a retail store that is in Keller Williams now. Is actually, I think she's in charge of a market center, if I'm not mistaken. And I was just like enamored with the aura that she was giving off and how she was speaking, and she wanted me to get into real estate. So I pursued it. I got my license, and I was going to join the market center, but then, I didn't feel a connection. So I ended up going to a different market center. So ultimately I left Verizon, a 6-figure job, a wife, 2 kids, a home, the whole thing. And I left it to pursue my dream of real estate.
Wow. How long ago was that?
That was at the end of 2017. I officially got my license. I left Verizon in 2018. I had a ton of money saved up. Thank God.
Not quite the ramp up you expected, right?
No, not at all. Actually, I ended up going into real estate and actually going back to a job because I was just failing and not making the money I needed to make. I thought I was making the right moves, but I wasn't. I was on a team and I was working pretty hard, but I thought I was anyway. So I ended up getting a job at T-Mobile working business sales, which was offered to me. I wasn't looking for it. And that job was making about $150,000 a year.
Wow. You still doing that?
Hell no. I left that job right away. I left 6 months after that. And as soon as I left, the second day I left, I got an offer accepted.
Nice. Very cool. So give me a picture. What did your real estate business look like in 2019? How did you do last year?
So right now I am a mortgage lender and a realtor as well. I do both.
Okay.
Nice. So I've been at my mortgage company for about a year now, which is in Rutherford as well. It's called Sistar Mortgage. You guys should call me. If you need
now I
help.
see why you wanted to volunteer.
I'm kidding. Listen, I'm a salesperson. Is what I do. So my business has significantly doubled. I mean, I was making, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say I made about maybe 30, 40 something on the real estate side last year, which is not much. But on the lender side, I almost hit 6 figures. I did pretty well. This year I've completely blown it out of the water with that virus or whatever. That doesn't even matter. So I'm doing much better now. I would say I've multiplied at least twice as much year over year now.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna stop. I could spend easily another 45 minutes of this, and there's some areas that we talked about that I want to dig deeper on. But with the time we have, I want to make sure we have time for everything. Let me ask you, what are your ahas? What are your ahas from that? What did you learn about Ray? I see some notes in the chat box. Awesome story, dedication. Tell me some of what you learned, what you observed. You know, maybe questions you would want to ask if you were doing it to dig a little bit deeper. Ambitious. You know, a lot of growth, definitely money driven, you know, definitely focus on what you can earn, obviously take care of your family. And we'll get more about the meanings behind that in the motivational conversation. But what did you learn? If you were hiring Ray for an opportunity, what are some things that would be standouts for you? And what are some things that would be concerns for you? Mary Beth.
Okay, go ahead. So I took some notes because I really liked the way that went. But I put it in the chat. There's so much talent that has come from Verizon Wireless into the real estate industry. So that is just a recruiting pond for us, a talent pond.
Let me go a little deeper with that, Mary Beth. 2017, 2018, our largest source of recruits to Keller Williams Realty was from Verizon Wireless. You know, we went into the study. Literally, it was 20 some odd % of the people that joined over those 2 years came from Verizon Wireless.
Great company.
So if you're looking to grow your downline, that's not a bad place to be. What's that, Ray?
Great company,
Yeah.
really great company.
Yeah.
And I would ask Ray. Ray has a lot of leadership qualities. I too went from a bus girl to a manager in the restaurant world. So I know the things that you've touched. I'd ask you, have you ever considered a leadership role inside of Keller Williams?
Yeah, I'm actually forming, or we're thinking about forming a team, but there is no try, so I am forming a team.
I would even ask you on the organizational chart of a market center, you know, in the leadership aspect of the markets, running a market center. I would, I would dive into that.
I would be open to it, but it would have to correlate with my goals and my time.
Sure.
But I'd be open to it because I want to make sure everybody can benefit.
And when I look at this timeline, he has a very high risk tolerance. Yeah, Ryan Van Hara. I mean, you definitely do. You made some pretty big moves. A wife and 2 kids, leaving a cushy salary job for a commission-based job.
Big
you
action,
can see.
big results.
What's that?
Big action, big results.
That's it. But you go back to this, and what you see is a solid work ethic. You know, working from a young age all the way through. You're seeing constant growth in everything he did. Definitely see some risk taking. I also see a lot of 2.5, 3 year trends in this. So that would be something I would dig deeper into if I was looking to bring Ray on as an employee. I had someone that I interviewed that was 2 year, 2 year, 2 year, 2 year, and one of the questions I asked was, what would your next opportunity have to look like for you to commit to it for 5 years? You know, what would that look like for you to commit to it 5 years? Because, you know, the challenge is when you're developing people and putting time, money, energy into training, you want to make sure, I always want it to be at least a 3 to 5 year commitment. Might get bored easily. Yeah, I mean, again, that could be some things we can plug into as we dig a little bit deeper. Again, I don't see as much being bored as looking for the next opportunity to grow your income. My guess is you're someone that wants to be in control of your own income and control of how you grow. So any other thoughts, comments, ahas on a life story interview? Was this valuable?
Yeah.
Can you see when you're, what's that, who's saying, yep?
So that was my question, and you answered right away. Like, he was not staying long time in each position or in each job, like 2 or 3 years, and he just went to another. That was my question, is like, what's the best way to, or what's the right approach to ask somebody what's keep you in that job or that role for a longer time?
Yep. Without a doubt, and you want to have that expectations conversation. I hired someone recently that was like a 2 year person, and And he came at it with a standpoint of, I'm going to do this for 2 years, then I want the next opportunity. We kind of had some conversations and expectations that's probably 3 to 5. And by the end of the first year, they came to me and said, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to accomplish what I want to accomplish in 2. This is a 3 to 5 year commitment. And we went back and revised the goals, revised the plan based on it being more of a 3 to 5 years. So again, the best thing you get out of this, 2 things. Number 1, track record of time. Of how long they stay, because if they're a 3-year person, then you may know that it only may be 3 years with you, and get into the why they left. Because Ray always left for more income, more opportunity. I'm gonna want to know that within that 3 years, I add another opportunity for him in that to allow him to still grow in my world. And the other thing you find is what that track record is on growth and income and stability. So. Very cool. Ray, thanks for volunteering for that. I enjoyed getting to know you.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I have a funny feeling we're going to talk again, and I think Mary Beth's going to reach out to you too.
Let's go.
So again, I'm going back now to the job fit report. So I'm on page 27, going to 28. So again, I just spent about an hour with Ray. I told him to expect 1 to 2 hours in this meeting. And this is a decision point. I'm going to stop. Am I going to move forward or am I going to exit gracefully? If I exit gracefully, what do you think my exit gracefully script might look like? What do you think my exit gracefully? Anyone want to volunteer to come up with what you think the exit gracefully script would look like here?
I mean, I would thank them. I would thank them for showing up. I would thank them for their time. I would break down that, the reasons why they're not a proper fit for our criteria. And then
I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop you right there, right? I'm going to stop you right there because some of the other folks know exactly where I'm going with this. Mary Beth, what would you say to exit gracefully from this conversation?
I would say the role we are currently offering would not be the best match for your talents. I'd like to stay in touch, and if I hear of anything that would be good fit for you, I will certainly let you know. I'd also be happy to hear from you if you know anyone who you feel would be a good fit for our organization.
I'm trying to drill this script into you. Are you getting that? Because here's what you will find. As you're growing and as you're hiring people, you're going to say no to a lot more people than you will say yes to. You will say no to a lot more people you say yes to. On average, I say no to 20 for every one I say yes to. So I want you to kind of get this script into your mind, because exit gracefully is important, because you want someone to leave and say, you know what, hey, I didn't get the job, but I really enjoyed getting to know that company. I really enjoyed getting to know that person. You want them to leave with a good taste in their mouth, because again, I've hired people over the years that were sent to me by someone I didn't hire. So by being able to exit gracefully with this script gives you the ability to leave on a good foot and perhaps either get referrals from them or perhaps help them buy or help them sell a house, or perhaps get an opportunity with them somewhere else in a different role that will be a fit for them. If you do decide to move forward, then it's been, hey, Ray, this has been great. Thank you for sharing. I really enjoyed getting to learn about you. Let's take a quick break, 5 to 10 minutes, then we'll get back going again. Can I get you a cup of water, cup of coffee, beer? I'm joking. Don't offer beer. And then we move forward onto the fourth conversation. Yes, page 20 in the Job Fit Consulting Guide, execute gracefully. Right now we're on page 28 is where that step 3 decision point was. Step 4. So again, we just did step 3, the life story. Step 4 is the motivational interview. The motivational interview. And here's a quick tip, something I learned a long time ago. You can't motivate people. Motivating people is a myth. You can't create motivation. No matter what I do, I can't motivate you. What I can do is understand what motivates you, because everyone has different triggers that motivate them. Feel free to unmute or throw in the chat box. What are some of the things that motivate people? What are some of the things that motivate people? Live question.
Avoiding pain.
Avoiding pain. Yeah. People will be motivated to do what they don't want to avoid what they don't want to do, to go to what they do want to do. Family, mindset. Go on, Esteban.
Growth.
Growth. You know, growth opportunities can motivate people. Yep. Gabe said that too. Money. Power. Interesting. What else?
I'd say your
There's a couple
mindset
we
is
haven't.
the biggest one.
What's that, Ray?
I mean, everybody thinks it's money or family or whatever, but I think your mindset is actually your greatest motivator. You just think it's the money or your family, but really it's your mindset. It's what you're really focusing on, because your RAS, your subliminal mind, is what's pushing you forward.
Yep. Without a doubt, it all starts up here. I'm seeing legacy. I'm seeing lifestyle. I'm seeing leaving a legacy. Some of the things that I'm not seeing on here is some people are motivated by giving back, by philanthropy, by helping people. Mary Beth, I know you're doing amazing things with what you're doing down there. You want to share that? Because I think it's something I'd love for you to share with the folks on the call, because you might have some people here that want to support you at some point down the road.
Awesome. Thank you. We have formed a nonprofit called Sheltered Hearts, and I was encouraged through Mo Anderson. And in 2015, I took my profit share money that I had in an account and purchased a home in Perth Amboy that has 6 bedrooms at 4,500 square feet and a 3-car garage that we turned into, called the Boyd House. We help women and children transition at certain times of their lives. It is a faith-based transitional housing for women. But also what happens from that nonprofit, Sheltered Hearts, is we also feed the homeless every last Tuesday of the month. We provide scholarships, we provide clothing and shelter for people. So I'm grateful to have Mo Anderson as that example. And I will tell you, from going to family reunion for 16 years and staying for that inspirational morning is where I latched on to what can I do in this world that when I leave, it's a better world.
Yeah, awesome. So again, I mean, that's awesome, isn't it? And Mary Beth, by the way, is always looking for, you know, donations, whether it be toilet paper, different times of the year, food. So if you want to support that, please plug into Mary Beth. So what I wanted to share is it's not always about money and things like that. I mean, some people just have a passion to make as much as they can. And to me, I believe that some of us have the ability to make more than other people. And if you're not motivated by money, then make as much as you can and be motivated to give it away, to help others, to support others, to do good. Other things on a completely different topic, fear. Fear is a big motivator. Fear of loss, fear of going broke, fear of losing it all. So, you know, you saw a lot of the questions here, a lot of the comments. So there's a lot of different things to motivate people. So what I want to understand is what motivates people. Samantha, I'm going to ask you to be my volunteer here. Is that okay if I call you out?
Yeah, that's fine.
As Esteban, what motivates me? Let me just share that with you real quick. And Billy, if we can post it again, we will. If not, just go to KW Connect, look for career visioning. All those tools are under the materials tab of career visioning. What motivates me, to give you guys an idea, I grew up as a very poor family from Schenectady, New York. My family my parents got married when my father was a junior in high school. My mother was a senior in high school. They had, my sister was born in September of my father's senior year. So there's pictures of my father holding my sister in his high school basketball uniform. So, you know, by the time they were 23 years old, my parents had 4 kids. So there was no savings ever in the history of my family. I remember back in 1985, 86, we were living in Utica, New York. We were on food stamps. I remember my mother having the book to buy her groceries because it was a family of 4 with no money in the bank. My father was probably making somewhere in the mid-20s at the time. And I remember as a kid feeling that growing up. I know that diesel fuel can replace home heating oil if you run out of heating oil. How do I know that? Because there was a time in my life where we would go at 3 in the morning, 30 miles to the closest gas station that sold diesel to fill up 2 5-gallon drums so we had heat in the house. My parents always looked for houses with fireplaces or wood-burning stoves because they knew there'd be times where they couldn't pay the heat and we'd have campfires. where they put blankets down in the entryway to whatever room had the fireplace, and we'd all camp out for 2 and 3 days in order to have heat. So I know very keenly what it's like to be poor. Now, if you know anything about Schenectady, New York, it's the meth capital of the Northeast. There's a high meth rate in Schenectady. Utica, New York, the high school I would have gone to if we stayed there, is ranked the #1 high school in the country for heroin abuse. So, you know, I come from that world. My life changed around 1986, 87. My father got relocated to New Jersey with AT&T. Again, making big money. He was making $36,000 a year for a family of 6. And moved to New Jersey, and we had a real bad experience with a realtor. And my mother said, well, if they can do this, I can do this. Who's ever said that before? So if they can do this, I can do this. So my mother decided to get a real estate license. So this is 87, right? By 1992, my parents were putting my sister into college, a private college. Now keep in mind, 1990, my sister's going to college in 1990. My parents were 41 and 42 years old. I can't even imagine putting a kid into college right now. But from 1990 to 2000, my parents put all 4 of their kids through private colleges because of the money my mother earned in real estate. She was able to change my family's demographic in life. My sister's a teacher. My brother builds $100 million construction projects. My brother's vice president of the largest hospital system in Pennsylvania. And it was all done because of the income my mother made selling real estate. So I learned at a young age, we don't have any problems that another well-priced, well-marketed listing can't solve. And as I got older, we don't have any problems that another great recruit can't solve. So again, my passion in life, what drives me is helping other people develop wealth and change their demographic position in life. Because real estate is something that you can invest $1,000 to get into and completely change your family's destiny. So that's my quick. Hey, thank you, Esteban. Thanks for asking. I don't share that often, but that's kind of what drives me in this world. I think I gotta take a break before next part of our conversation. I'm gonna do a quick abbreviated 8 to 10 minute motivational conversation with Samantha, who I volunteered. And then we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back into the next segment. I'm going to get you a beer. I'm cool with that, Dana. Let me know when. So Samantha, so you'll see here, I draw a quadrant, I guess they call it. And I start here with job. And Samantha, if me and you are sitting down, let's call it 3 years from now. So I use 3 to 5. If we're sitting down 3 to 5 years from now, what would have to be happening in the job area of your life for you to say, holy cow, my job is better than I ever could have imagined. I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm feeling so rewarded. Life is great. What would the job aspect of your world have to look like for you to say that?
Yeah, job. So I consider it job and / business, but for the sake of this job, number one, having a fully functioning 7th level real estate team here in central New Jersey that I am overseeing, running so well that, you know, even if I took time off and I wasn't there, they would still be moving forward, you know, powering ahead and growing. So that would be one aspect of it. And then the other aspect, to really just blow it out of the park 3 to 5 years from now, would be to be a part of a market center, growing that successfully, and hopefully working towards an opportunity of becoming an owner investor in a market center as well.
Awesome. What is it about being part of a growing market center owner investor that appeals to you?
Well, to go back to a little bit of my history, I mean, I come from a working class family, and, you know, the only money we ever had coming in, my dad had to actually go out and earn. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. He eventually opened his own business, but the only money we ever had was he had to go and physically work to earn it. And, you know, they didn't really have a savings. They have no investments. You know, even talking to my parents now later in life, they've got such tiny retirements and things like that. That really, to me, was a huge eye-opener at a young age, that I can't do that. I need to be doing something bigger. I need to have money working for me. I need to have multiple things happening. And I don't want to have to be the one that has to do the job every single day for money to keep coming in. And I want to be able to teach to my children.
Nice. Nice. And that's a lot of what makes us who we are, right? What we learned from our parents, what we saw our parents do, and how we want to have our children do different. Awesome. Now, again, I could spend more time on job. I'm doing an abbreviated version, so because I kind of want to try to get down to at least this third quadrant. So I love the fact that you said job and business. Right there tells me a lot about you. That you don't want just a job. It sounds like you want opportunity.
Yes.
Where the business comes into play. So when I look up in this one is the income side of things. What would 3 years from now, what would the income in your life need to be looking like? And which different areas would you have income coming in from that would have you say, wow, this is amazing. I never imagined it would be this great.
Yeah, so for me, where it comes from is based on everything in the job. You know, it doesn't have to be coming from one place, hopefully from multiple places. But for me, right now, to be really wow would be to have enough income where my husband could leave New York City. So for us, that looks about, you know, somewhere, you know, around 250 and above thousand a year to be able to have him totally leave New York City, and him and I can go into business for ourselves. And then anything over that is obviously gravy, but, and stuff that we could.
You say business for, you want to go into business for yourselves. What does that look like?
Well, my husband wants to get into investing. So on the vesting side of things, we want to get into holding properties. We have a goal of a certain amount of properties based on family members and things like that to help their retirements and their future plans. But that's an investor business together is our long-term goal.
So we say buy and hold is the primary. Any buy and flip in there, or mainly buy and hold?
Both. Yeah. Probably flipping to get the money for the buy and hold and that sort of thing.
Awesome. So when you break that down, so really you're focused on the 250 is the big number. Where it comes from, you've already said your 7th level team, perhaps some real estate investment. You talked over here about being part of a growing market center.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What's profit share look like to you?
Profit share currently or in the future, you mean?
Currently, let's figure out the gap. Where is it now and where you want it to be?
Well, I mean, right now it's a few $100s a month, which I am extremely grateful for. Any extra money is fantastic. Yep. But I would love that to be a huge part of the money I'm earning, the passive money I'm earning. You know, I had a goal when I went into real estate, I had a goal of enough passive income to cover my current mortgage so that I could essentially be living for free. So I think having the profit share factor into that is, you know, I think would be fantastic. If I could get to a couple grand a month, I'd be happy.
Nice. Awesome. That's good goal to have. So again, want to make that as big as you want to grow it. Again, if we had more time, I might get into a cash flow quadrant type of conversation here and figure out what that looks like from a Robert Kiyosaki standpoint. But outside of job and income, what's another category that's important to you? What's another area of your life that's important to you?
My family, 100%. And I know that seems like such a cliche response, but it's true. It's the only other thing I care about.
Nothing wrong with that. What would your family be looking like 3 years from now for you to say, wow, this is amazing?
Yes.
How many kids do you have now? I know this answer, but I'm asking you anyways if I don't know you.
I have one. I would like two. We have to get my husband, who is sitting over here, on board. Wave hello.
Hey
Adam.
there, husband. How are you? Hey, Mr. Perlman.
He can't hear me. He's got headphones on.
I bet you didn't know he just became part of a training class for 100 people.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, no, I mean, I would like to have 2 children and a family and spend time. You know, one of the big things I've learned during this quarantine, one of the benefits that has come out of it is spending more time together as a family, having dinners together. I always had that growing up. We always had dinners together at 5 o'clock every day. My dad would come home from work. We'd have dinner as a family. And that is the structure that I haven't had with my current family. So it's something a real benefit that has come out of quarantine, which is, it doesn't have to be 5 o'clock, obviously, but you know what I mean? Yeah. the structure, that time together.
He's commuting to Manhattan and you're a real estate professional. So there's no consistency in that dinner schedule now.
No, not right now. But that would be, you know, the ultimate goal would be to set that time aside. I always want my children to know how important they are to me. And I always want to make that time. I don't want to be that person that is always on the phone. Oh, he was just looking over. Wave hello, Adam. Adam, wave hello. Huh? Wave hello.
Hey, Adam. What's up, man?
So yeah, I mean, for my family in terms of priority, I always want them to know that we have time. I don't want to be that person that's always on the phone. I don't want to be the person that ignores them. When I'm there and I'm with them, I'm 100% committed to them. That is the most important thing to me.
Which again, would come back to your real estate business, having a 7th level team that's operating so you're not taking phone calls, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week would be important to you.
Yes.
If you go on vacation right now, can you say on your voicemail, I have no access to phone or email for the next 7 days. Please call such and such if you need anything?
No, honestly, no.
So with all of this, leverage is going to be a big part of making all this happen. Because until you get leverage, you have a job. You have a job. It's getting a business that will still operate when you walk away from it. So outside of job, income, family, is there any other areas that would be important to you?
Right now, those are my main focuses.
So why don't we put in this, for the sake of argument, based on what you've said, is building that real estate investment aspect of your life should be another focus all by itself. So we take this whole thing, we bring it down here to map. And now, guys, if I had an hour, this gets really interesting. Because what we do is we kind of map out what her 3 and 5 year goals in life are, what motivates her. That way, as we hit some of those walls that happen with anyone as they go through a job, we can kind of bring her back to this. I know it's frustrating. I know it's challenging. But if we do get through this to the next level, how would this help us do this, this, and this? So knowing someone's motivation is so important. So first of all, to get to know them. Now, in the job interview process, let me just do a quick disclaimer. In the job interview process, we really shouldn't be asking about family, and we shouldn't be asking about kids and things like that. We all know how discrimination works. But in the motivational conversation, if she brings it up as one of her key important things, it allows us to have that conversation in such a way that is safer. That make sense? And then I also get to know a lot about this person as far as what drives them, what motivates them. Samantha, thanks for playing.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I always appreciate getting to know more about you too, so thank you. Ahas from that. Ahas, thoughts, comments?
I like how she's pretty clear as to what her vision is, because the clearer your vision, the easier it is to manifest it. So that was very, very motivating. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah, and let's talk about that for a second. I met Mark Willis. For those of you that have been around, Mark Willis was our former CEO, president. I met with him when I first took on my area director role back in 2011, and I sat with him and he said, "Where do you see yourself in 15 years?" I'm like, house paid off, money in the bank. He's like, okay, how much is your house worth? How much money's in the bank? How much other real estate assets do you have? How many kids do you have? 2? How about a third? Are you thinking about a third? He must have known something, because I found out when I came home the next day that we were pregnant for a third. So I don't know how he made that happen, but somehow he did. Awkward. And he started asking me detailed questions. Where are your kids going to college in 18 years? Is college paid for? What does your cash look like? What does your stocks look like? What do your bonds look like? And I'm like, whoa, I guess I'm not clear enough on my long-term goals. Then he said something really cool to me. He said, you need to be really clear with your long-term goals, because the clearer you are with your goals, the easier it will be for me to help you accomplish those. And if I'm helping you accomplish your long-term goals, you're never going to want to be in business with anybody else. And I was like, why? Because I spent 12 years with a company that I'm as good as my last month. And what have you done for us lately? And typically when you hit a certain point, they just cast you aside for the next shiny object. Whereas now I'm meeting with the CEO of, at the time was the 3rd largest real estate company in the country. And he's saying, the clearer you are with your goals, the easier it is for me to help you accomplish them. Therefore, you'll never want to be in business with anybody else. A very different relationship. And that should be the relationship from our regions to our OPs to our team leaders to our staff and our agents, and our staff and our agents with their people in their worlds. It should be the whole top-down approach we have. So this motivational conversation really helps you get there. Any other quick comments, thoughts, ahas, excitements on this motivational conversation? All right, it's 11:50. Let's take a quick 6-minute break. 11:56 Verizon time. We will come right back here. Emily, do you have the ability to put a countdown timer up there? We're gonna put a countdown timer up there so you know, and we'll see you back in about 6 minutes.
And what's that company name?
What up, Gabe?
Yo, what's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Doing my thing, trying to stay busy.
Good, man. I'm up in Ringwood right now.
Oh, nice, man. I got a listing up there.
What you got? Talk to me.
Nah, it's on the contract already. It was it's a fixer upper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like that area. I get a couple buyers there each year, so nice.
Yeah. I've been getting a lot West Milford, Ringwood area.
Yeah, people want that I guess more woodsy feel.
More woodsy, and you can't beat it for the price, man. What you get?
Oh, yeah. Nice. It's nice. For sure. Oh man, where's our boy Ray? Where you at?
Gabe, you guys understand that we're all hearing your conversation, right? And you're annoying us. You guys can call on the phone, right?
Yeah, or you can mute it.
All right. No, I'm just playing with you. You're not annoying me.
How else did I turn on my microphone? So you guys missed all that. All right, there was really good stuff. I can't believe you missed it. At this point, we've been through the screening process. Can you hear me now? Ariel, Jessica, Cheddar? Cool. Ariel's laughing at me, so I'm guessing she can hear me now. Went through the screening process, which was 2 to 3 minutes in the filtering of resumes, the 10 or so minutes on establishing the track record, be of a phone call or a Zoom call. We had 4 separate interviews, about an hour each, that might have taken place over 3 to 5 days. Now we go into perspective. And guys, this next section, which we're going to spend the next hour on, to me is one of the coolest parts of the process. A lot of this is new. New from Recruit Select that didn't have this, specifically the first part of the group interview process. So we're going to talk about getting perspective. And now perspective is seeing it from different angles. If you remember that when we talk about spatial visualization from the KPA, spatial visualization is how you can view things from different angles. Step 3 gives you the ability to take yourself out of the process and get other perspective on the candidate. So again, what this is going to do, this is going to kind of reinforce all of these things. It's going to help you understand the knowledge, skills, and track record. What will come up, especially in the reference checking, and the behavior, thinking, culture will all come into play when it comes to the group interview. So I'm actually going to pull this off so we can see each other up close and personal. Go back to your book. Go back to your book. And again, in my book, it's around page 154. Yours might be around 156, 157. I want you to go to the page that says conduct the group interview. Conduct the group interview. And anyone tell me what page that is? Probably around page 157-ish. 158. Thank you very much, Christina. So page 158, we're talking about conducting a group interview. So this, again, is a really cool part. So we're talking, again, from the perspective of hiring an executive assistant in this example. So you're going to want to pull some people together. If you have people on your team, they're going to be part of the group interview. You might ask a Market Center staff member to be part of the group interview, which could be an OP, team leader, MCA, director of agent services, director of first impressions. If you're hiring an executive assistant and you have another team that has an executive assistant that's really, really good, you might ask that team to have their executive assistant in your group interview. So in a perfect world, you want to probably have somewhere around 5 people, give or take, 5, 6 people in this group interview. Now be careful. Don't make it too big. I walked into a group interview that was set up and there were 15 people in the group interview. That's going to feel more like a firing line than a group interview. So, somewhere between 4 and 6 people in the group interview. A couple of tips, again, all on page 158. Get with the group ahead of time and select your group. Make sure you get people that think like you do and think big picture, and kind of go over expectations. In that expectations, hey guys, this is kind of a group interview. This is casual. Oftentimes I'll put a little cheese platter out, cheese and crackers, or some finger sandwiches, or some coffee. Make it kind of a casual, almost think of it as a little lunch get together. And make it a very casual get together where people can come together either in the room. I've sent them to a restaurant and done a group interview at a TGI Fridays in the past, just in order to be able to get some perspective. And I meet with the group ahead of time, and I give them a little introduction to the candidate. Hey, this is the candidate I'm talking to. This is what I've learned about them so far. These are some of the things that I think they're good at. Here's also some of the things that if they come up, maybe some concerns. So I'm going to kind of give them some perspective on the positives and negatives. And also, I'm going to let them know this isn't a democracy. I'm looking for their perspective. They don't necessarily get a vote. So if you have a team, or if you're a Market Center leader hiring an employee, this isn't majority rules. And again, in this, there's a script. Hey, this is not a vote. It's your opportunity to give your feedback and consideration on how well you think of Samantha will fit in with the team. Sorry, Samantha, you were my last volunteer, so I had to use you in that script. How you think Samantha will fit in with the team. But at the end of the day, it's going to be my decision. But I appreciate this group so much that I want you part of this, so that way you can meet the candidate before anybody else and give me your perspective on the candidate. So again, be purposeful with the way you set the expectations with the group. Number two, most importantly, designate a social chair. Designate a social chair. The purpose of this person is first of all, you shouldn't be in the interview. It says you do not need to attend the interview. Because here's the challenge. I'm a high D, I'm an OP. It's person I'm hiring. I might try to steer it. I might try to protect the person in the conversation. I might come to their defense, and I really need to see how they're going to handle themselves with the group. So you necessarily don't need to be there, don't want to be there, but you want to make sure you have a social chair to lighten the crowd up if it turns into a firing squad. Tell us a time when. What do you think of this? How would you do that? The social chair's job is say, whoa, hang on a second. This is casual, guys. Let's just kind of have casual conversations. So you want someone to lighten the room up in order to make sure it doesn't turn into a firing squad. Then last, this should be fun. This should be friendly conversation. Tell us about you. What do we need to know about you? What have you done? What's your perspective on real estate? What do you think is going on in the market? What have you learned? It should be a casual getting to know you conversation. And for the candidate, I also tell them this is a time for them to ask the team about me. So if there's anything that candidate wants to know about me, what it is to work with me, how I am as a boss, whatever the case might be, this gives the candidate a chance to talk to people that will be their peers about what they need to know. So again, this should be a fun getting to know you conversation, getting to know each other in order to see how well you gel. Make sense? Thoughts, comments, questions? I'm gonna pause for a second. I want you to ask questions if you have them, so we make sure we understand that this to me is I can't even say all of these are so freaking important. Every step in this, I'm gonna say this is the most important step in the process. But I think this is a very important step. As a market center leader, this is my key step for my team leaders, because I need my top agents to buy into the team leader. So this kind of gets that buy-in going. And again, if you're hiring someone for your team, this gets the rest of your team buying into this candidate. So everyone's part of helping them get up and get going. Has anyone been part of this process in the past? Anything you want to share? Anything you want to say, Mary Beth? I know you've done this a number of times. I know Darren's probably been part of this a number of times. Anything you want to share, Mary Beth?
Well, yeah, just that you had shared in the beginning of the course that you were all for a few of the candidates that you had, but when you put them in front of the people that they would work with, it gave you a different side of the beach ball. You got to see a different side of what they might have been seeing. And I have definitely been in that process where I was sure we were hiring someone. And after that, like literally everything unraveled because I had foggy glasses. So important part of the process.
Without a doubt. And again, we have blind spots. Again, based on your behavior profile, I'm a high I, I'm highly sociable. I want to see the best in everybody. And when I'm in pain and have a need, I'm going to try to put that person there. So this is my chance to have that group kind of protect me from making a bad decision. Darren, I know you've been part of this process before.
Yeah, I mean, like overall, I think just talking about CV, I mean, I'll be the first to say I've gotten better with each time I've done it. You kind of pick up something every single time you do it with somebody. And the last time I think I was probably the best at I hired a great admin. I think it's really important too to layer in a 30, 60, 90 plan, which kind of, makes this whole process even more important because it validates, the 30, 60, 90 really puts into place a plan for the candidate that you really choose, right? So
now we're going to talk about the 30, 60, 90 in the offer phase. 30, 60, 90 is actually the next class in this series. To go through this process and not have a robust 30, 60, 90 could set up a great candidate to fail if you don't train them the right way. So we'll definitely talk about that. Don't get too far ahead, Darren. Come on, man. Help me out.
I'm just saying we got to do everything. We can't just be narrow focused.
I know Ariel, Dana, you guys have all been part of this process. Anything you want to share about the group interview process?
Yeah, real quick, I put it in the chat too. It really does. If that candidate is green lit and added and hired, it gives the rest of the group some DNA on the fact that that candidate was hired. Right?
Yeah.
So no one can say, oh, I didn't like his face or I didn't like the way. No, you had a group interview and there was an opportunity for feedback.
Mm-hmm. And that's so important, because then again, you got other people now talking days or weeks before. Wow, we just met so and so. They're awesome. They're gonna be a great fit. It creates energy around the hire, and again, it gets those people supporting that person on their intake at a high level. And I love the fact you use DNA, because when someone comes into a new job, that first day is awkward because they don't know anybody. Now they're coming into this first day in the new job where they've got 5 or 6 people they already know because they met them as part of the interview process. So it makes that DNA a lot more cohesive.
So true.
Any other thoughts on that? Anyone wants to share?
I have something I wanted to share. For everyone sitting on this, that's, we're thinking about our first admin hire, and you might be thinking, well, who do I sit in the group? I love the fact that you brought up, have somebody from the market center staff sitting with you and doing that, because they're going to most likely be interacting with this admin as well, and seeing how that interaction happens and still getting sort of that third party perspective. I think that was, great.
Yep, without a doubt. I'm going to comment on Ryan Van Harris' comment. Is it a majority rule or must be unanimous in order to hire? This goes back to what I said a few seconds ago. This is not a democracy. This is not majority rule or unanimous. It's completely whoever's doing the hiring. It's that person's decision. He or she is getting feedback from the group. So it's ultimately, this isn't a voting process. So it's a feedback process. It's allowing people to be part of the process. Joe?
So how would you handle this? So I've been through this before, where I would hold a lunch, bring together a couple of people, and depending on how the candidate was, some of the feedback I got was intimidation. They're like, oh boy, who's this person? How are they going to interact with the team? What are they going to do? So let's say you have a team member on a team that is maybe not working the best that they could, and you're bringing a rock star on a team. So how do you handle that dynamic in a group interview? Because I can see it kind of getting a little dicey, depending on the personalities of the individuals,
Well, that's why that social chair is so important. And that's why setting this up the wrong way could also be a disaster. We were hiring an ATL recently, and we didn't set it up the right way. I'm not going to say we, the person doing the hiring didn't set up the right way. There were 15 people in the room. There was no social chair designated. So it actually turned into a firing squad of just throwing stuff at the person. And again, this was a talented person that after the group interview decided they wanted nothing to do with the job, because there was going to be all kinds of challenges that they were going to have in there. So the group interview actually worked against us because it wasn't set up the right way. So again, when you've got someone that is like a bull in a china shop, that also tells you some things. I've got one market center, we're looking for a team leader, and I had someone come in for a group interview that's highly aggressive, and kind of turn some folks off. And I realized that particular market center needs someone that's a little bit more of a nurturer than a driver. So part of this group interview is to find what's the right fit in that person that's going to adapt really, really well with the group. So again, I'm not sure if I answered your question, Joe, or gave you some perspective on that. Did that help at all?
Yeah, it's just that, sometimes I feel that, maybe you didn't start off with the best team members to begin with, and then you hire a really great hire. And, in the heart of hearts, that is a good hire, but your other team members are feeling intimidated and saying, wow, I'm going to have to up my game, or, I might be out kind of thing, and having to deal with that dynamic,
Yeah, well, and that's something you got to be prepared for. And I did that in one of my market centers 2 years ago. I brought in a new team leader because I had faith that person would be the right person for the job. But I also realized early on that the staff I had in place weren't the right person for that team leader. So I kind of set up expectations of what I needed that team leader to accomplish in the first 6 months in order to give them the right to change the staff. And within a year, my entire staff was completely different than it was the year before. And the analogy I use, Joe, is when the NFL brings in a new head coach, typically the head coach changes the assistant coaches, the line coaches, the trainers, everyone else in the process. So depending on who you're hiring, it may be part of an organizational overhaul, which all the more reason you gotta be ready. You gotta be ready because the organizational overhaul is not an easy process. And you want to make sure you have the people involved in the group interview and your ALCs and things like that all ready for it, because this is going to take work from everybody. So again, if you've got a lot of subpar or standard, you want to bring in a rock star and make a change, know that you're going to go through some pain. I've done it. I'm Michael Brand, and I've gone through pain. I'm Michael Brand, and I've made some badass hires in my day. Billy, I know you had a question before. I saw you unmute.
Yeah, so that was my question is, do you have that group interview like recorded so you could protect from that happening, like getting like that new person getting drilled? Based, same thing what Joseph said is that your current staff might be intimidated that now you're looking to hire somebody better than them, and they're probably, not that they're going to kibosh it, but with their tonality and stuff like that, might cause the new recruit not to wanting to come into your organization.
Well, so I mean, I know what both you guys are saying with the way the current staff may interact. So I said before, you don't need to be in the meeting. But if you have an issue like you guys are talking about where you have some staff that might be threatened, you might choose to be in that meeting. There's no, you can't be in the meeting. If you have a concern that you might have a staff member that puts a kibosh on it or lights a fire in it, you might choose to participate, and that's not a bad thing. Now, to answer your question regarding recording, I would have told you 6 months ago, no, it'd be kind of weird to record it. My last group interview, which was a week ago, we had some people attending via Zoom. So I was able to record it. So this is the time when you can actually leverage technology to record it. Now, also, if you do it in the training room or conference room, both my training room and conference rooms have cameras in it. So I can actually record it without telling anybody. Is that sketchy? I believe in the state of New Jersey, only one party needs to be aware of the recording for it to be legal. So please, Samantha.
That's only important if you use it against them, so it's all good.
There'll be someone that comes into a group interview for me that's looking around for cameras. So yes, I mean, in this day and age, you can actually, again, use Zoom, because there will be some people, you might not be able to put 5 to 7 people in a room. So you might have 3 people in a room and 3 or 4 people attend via Zoom. Again, cool. Social chair is important. Someone to lighten the mood. And again, Billy, for your business, you may have a market center staff person or the team leader or an MCA in the room who can also do a good job of putting some of your team members at bay if they try playing games.
Yeah, no, that was a good suggestion. That was really good, because they would know that they know how hard it was for you to go through this whole, process, for your staff to screw it up. That, that's good that, to have a team leader in there. Yeah.
Yep. To Christine's question, if you're building a team, can you suggest who else you would ask to attend other than market center staff? What's the hire, Christine? What's the hire? Is it executive assistant? Is it?
Sorry. Yeah, EA.
Yeah. So EA, I would ask another Rainmaker if they want to attend, because they have a picture of what you might be looking for in an EA. If you have another team's EA that might want to participate in it. An agent you do some business with, or another ALC member if you're on the ALC, would all be people that I might include in that. Sinead Hennessy would be happy to help.
Thank you, Sinead.
Awesome. Any other questions about the group interview? Was this helpful? Cool. References, again, I'm on page probably 159 in the book. A couple things on references. References are the most skipped part of the process. It is the most skipped part of the process. I love it, Dana. # never skip references. Let me tell you about a story. Let me tell you about a quick story about reference checking. Never skip references. I was not good at reference checking. I hated doing it. And I had an OP candidate that came to me. looking to launch a market center, actually in the Wayne, New Jersey area. In the Wayne, New Jersey area, for those of you that are involved in the Wayne Market Center. This was a candidate I had about 5 years ago, 6 years ago in the Wayne market area. And you know, a couple people highly touted him, taking him through the process. And I heard somewhere someone said, you're checking references, right? I'm like, yeah, sure I am. I hate checking them, but I will. And they said, okay, make sure you do. So I said, okay, I'm going to check some references. And I called the references they gave me. Now, at that time, people would give us 15 references. They would give us 3 categories, you know, business, job, personal, job, industry, personal, with 5 references in each one. Now, if someone gives you 15 references, what do they typically do with those 15 references? They call those people to let them know they've given them as references. So those people are expecting my call, and let's be honest, they're always going to give you the best references. So I called the 15 references, and I went through the reference checking script. So again, if you turn up a few pages here, you've got what looks like this. Let me actually show it to you real quick. One second. Share screen. Share screen, PowerPoint, share. Come on. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. Here's the reference checking script. And again, you have a copy of this in your book around page 159. And the questions go like this. Hello, my name is Michael Baird with Keller Williams Realty. We're speaking with Mary Beth about a possible position as a team leader. He or she has given us your name as a reference. May I take a few minutes of your time to ask some questions? How is it that you know her? Could you please describe your relationship? What do you feel are her strengths? What do you feel are her weaknesses? As a consultant moving forward, what are some areas that you think I can help Mary Beth improve on personal growth? Would you work with him or her again? So again, you can look at the reference checking questions here. They give you about 10 questions in this to go through. Now, so as I started asking references, I got to the very last question of the reference checking, which is the most important question. It says, who else do you know who has experience with Mary Beth that can give a different perspective? Do you happen to have his or her number? So when I was checking this person's references, you know, page 162, thanks, Chatter. The person said, well, have you spoken to such and such? I'm like, I have not. But I will give them a call. So I called such and such and said, hey, you know what? My name is Michael Brand with Keller Williams Realty. I got your name from the reference. I'm currently interviewing, you know, talking to Mary Beth about a possible leadership opportunity. And so-and-so said, again, the reference said that you might be someone good to talk to. At this stage, this second level reference. So again, the candidate doesn't know I'm calling the second level reference. The first thing the person said was, does he know you're calling me? I'm like, no, he doesn't. Will he ever know that you're calling me? No, he won't. As well, I don't really want to get into this, but you should call so-and-so. I'm like, who? I'm like, eating popcorn. I'm like, this is getting interesting. And then I call so-and-so, and hey, my name is Keller Williams Realty. I got your name from Jim, who got your name from Joan, who was given to me by Mary Beth, because I'm interviewing Mary Beth about leadership opportunity, and this person thinks I should talk to you. First thing I got, does he know you're talking to me? Can you mute Amrita, please? Does he know we're talking? No, he doesn't. Well, good, because I would fear for my life if he did. Tell me more. You know, and I came to find out some real interesting stuff. And then that person gave me to another person and another person and another person. And I was like, I ended up making about 45 total phone calls with this candidate, because I wanted to bulletproof myself. And then I'm like, oh God, I've got to tell this candidate that I'm not going to get into business with them. And I had to figure out what that script looked like. So I'm going to pause for a second. The reason I illustrate that story is to tell you that if I didn't do reference checking, I would have not gotten into business with people like Ron Iosa, Bill Boswell, of the amazing crew that's part of the Wayne Market Center today. That's one of the top launches in the country, because I would have gotten in business with the wrong person that would have prevented me from getting in business with the right person. So this is an example of why it's so important to do it. So I'm going to go back a step. Again, if you go back to the page before that, there's some cues you can get in making these phone calls, even if you don't get to the depth that I got to. So for instance, again, I believe it's around 2 pages out, it's about 161. So let's say they go, oh yes, I used to work with Bob a couple years ago. Well, they're probably saying they're a little non-committal. They might not have a whole lot of good things. So you just want to ask them questions, take some notes, and ask them who else. If a person's not comfortable and they don't want to say anything bad, they probably know someone who will say something bad. Or short comments. No, yes, probably, fine, okay. Again, another warning sign. Nothing. If they don't return your calls, if they don't return your message, that tells you volumes. Because someone who can give a good reference is always happy to give a call to help someone else out. So there were some times where I'll call and I will never get a call back. So right there tells me a lot about the references. Thoughts, comments, questions? When you drill down to the third or fourth reference, so what Dane is talking about here is, we used to say give us 5 references in these 3 different categories, 15 references in total. What we say now is just give us 3 references. Give us 3 references. If you turn ahead to around page 163, 164, this page is so important. Here's the candidate reference list. Just give us 3 references. Because here's what we found: when we were getting 15 references, they'll call the 15. If we just get 3, those 3 will introduce us to the other 12 that the original candidate would have given us, but the candidate hasn't prepped them yet. So it makes it a lot easier to get to 15 references. So you want to get these 3 references. You want to ask who else. So these references are level 1 references. Who else is a level 2 reference? Who else from that person is a level 3 reference? And you definitely want to get to level 3. You may find yourself getting to level 4
I'm good.
or 5.
I was a little confused by your text.
Well, yeah,
Hey, Michael, I have a
text
quick
you,
question
Dan.
for you.
Alberta?
Didn't I text you, Dan? Go on, Amrita. Dan, you're on a live mic, buddy. Dan, you're still on a live mic. There you go. Amrita, what's up?
I'm sorry, I was unmuted before. So this might be my limiting belief, but I would think that if I called somebody who was a reference, one of the 3, and I said, okay, who else do you know that would have known so-and-so that could also provide some insight to me in a different perspective, I would think that they'd be like, no, I can't think of anybody, because nobody is really willing to share people's contact information.
But here's the challenge, Amrita. Right there is something that you're getting out of this. Because if the person's a wow, this person has no problem sharing someone else's.
Okay.
When someone doesn't feel comfortable, that to me is just a red flag. So it does happen. What you also might get is if one of the references is corporate, they won't give you a reference. What you'll get is, well, we can confirm they worked from this date to this date and this was their role. And a lot of times that's all they'll give. So there might be times where you hit walls. So here's some things that I do when I hit walls. This is my candidate. You guys didn't know I was an artist, did you? Pretty cool, right? Yeah. This is my candidate, and I do some circle reference checking. So what I do is I look at the person's resume. What companies were they with? Do I know anybody in those companies? I'll look at the person's Facebook and LinkedIn. Do we have any relationships in common? Do we have any friends in common? Do we have any LinkedIn in common? Now keep in mind, when I'm doing these circle reference checking, I'm getting to a second level out of the gate, because this person doesn't know I'm calling. If they're a member of a country club, I'm calling that country club. If they're a sales agent, this person, I actually went to the MLS and I looked at a lot of the transactions they've done over the last 2 or 3 years and who the co-brokes were. And I started calling some of the co-brokers. How were they to co-broke with in the past? I got some real interesting references from the co-brokers. Oh, that person was a beast to work with. They were horrible. They were nasty. They negotiated in bad faith. They played games. So again, MLS co-brokes, Facebook friends, LinkedIn can be your friend, yes. Facebook. So you can go and kind of circle prospect around the person's life to be able to get right to the second level. There was one person I was looking at a few years ago that I got some folks that were in business with the person that had not so nice things to say about them. And I almost chose not to get into business with this person because of what those people said. I went right to the second level and third level, fourth level, fifth level, I went 6 levels deep on this person. And after going through a long, drawn-out process, came to realize that I did want to get into business with the person. I didn't just take that first reference, the second reference I got that were negative. I kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. And came to realize there were some reasons for some of that initial feedback. Now it's one of our largest franchise owners, So that's done a great job of building big businesses and fixing messy businesses. So it's don't always take everything on the surface, whether it's good or bad. You want to go deeper. You want to go deeper. You want to go deeper. Going back to page 163 or so, that candidate reference list. This is so important because someone read the permission to contact your references on the bottom half of the page. Anyone want to read that for me? Again, it says the candidate reference list. I believe it's around page 163 or 164. Okay, I'll do it myself. Thanks for nothing. We only have 30 minutes left. I can't wait forever for a volunteer. By signing below, I give Keller Williams Realty permission to contact all of the references that I listed, plus any other people that my references suggest that you, Keller Williams Realty, connect. So this is so important to have them fill out and sign because it kind of gives you permission. That way, if you walk into a minefield like I did, you got some permission to go deeper. Rebecca, banks typically will only verify employment history without a doubt. Banks, any corporate company, if you've got to call an HR department, you're not getting anything more than first, last, so on and so forth. I've actually gone where I've actually figured out which department they worked in and try to see if I knew anybody that worked in that department to go to a fellow employee. So without a doubt, you will get that. Carly Ringer, can we run a criminal background check? I love the fact that you said that. Depends on what you're hiring for, and then you've got to get permission. So if you're hiring someone that may deal with money, you might want to get into a credit check. You may want to get into a criminal background check. To run those, you really should have their permission and have them sign something giving permission to do that. Also, Google can be your best friend. Google their name with arrest, fraud, any one of those terms that might come up. I've prevented getting into business with some people by Googling them with some of those words. Jessica, you're laughing about somebody. I hope it's someone on this call. Yeah, you're on video. Google the name with news. So Google it with a bunch of different words, and you might find all kinds of interesting things. I Googled one person's name coming on as a realtor, because I just heard someone say something, and came to realize her husband was being indicted for fraud. He ran a ring where they took investments from people they knew to invest in other things and ended up taking that money to buy vacation homes and boats and all kinds of things, like a Ponzi scheme. So I sat the person down and said, hey, I've got a concern. This is what I found out. Well, it's my husband. I didn't know anything about it. All right, so now you're just saying you're stupid because you didn't ask your husband where he was getting this $2.5 million that was used to pay for all these other things. I'm not trying to be rude or insensitive, but you've also got to protect yourself. And whether it's someone or someone in their family, you got to choose whether or not that's a risk you want to take. Because like we talked about the first day, if you're in business with losers, you're a loser. So you got to know that everyone you attract is a reflection of who you are. So you've got to make those decisions carefully. I'm going to stop for a second. Questions, thoughts, comments on reference checking? Reference checking, background checking? Nothing, huh? Got nothing for me? You may have someone that says, I can't give you references because if it gets out in my current job, that could hinder my current job. My brother, for instance, my brother works vice president of PR and marketing for Jefferson Health Systems, the hospital field. Every time he looks at a new job opportunity, he can't have them check references because if the people decide not to hire them and his current hospital finds out, it puts him in a predicament. So every single job he interviews for, if he gets an offer, he signs a document with it that says, I give this new employer permission to check my references after hire. And if they find anything in that jeopardizes me, I understand that I have the ability to lose the job. So, so yes, Barry Paley, to your comment, what do you do when you're hiring someone that is discreet and does not need to lose a job? I can check the references after the fact, but they need to know that if something comes up there, I've got 2 weeks where I can renege on that job, no harm, no foul. And what does that do? What does that do? If there's a question mark there, it's going to come up. It's going to come up. Well, then you might want to know this. I was arrested for embezzling money from Billy Pena. I'm just using an example, Billy. So it might be that. That one candidate I mentioned to you from the Wayne area, they were affiliated with a different franchise. So that person originally said, hey, I don't want you doing this because I can't have my franchise. No, I'm looking at changing franchises. It would hurt me. So I said, okay, what if I change my script to this? You know, Mary Beth, I'm going to use your name as an example because you're in the top left-hand corner of my screen. My script turned to, hey, Billy, I'm giving you a call because I was given your name by Mary Beth. I'm currently looking at getting into a business opportunity with Mary Beth. And working together in a business relationship. And I want to check some references on her before I did that. And she gave me your name as someone I could talk to. So if I can't check, I'll use a general, I'm getting into a business relationship with them without saying I'm interviewing them for a position or mentioning companies, which might make them feel more comfortable. Or again, get permission to check references after the fact with the knowledge that I will renege on the offer if something comes up.
I like that language, Michael. Just saying we're getting into business because we are getting into business, but then it doesn't kind of give everybody the idea of what you're doing. Also, I would say is I've gone off script checking references, and then it takes forever and it's a disaster, and I don't get out of what I wanted to. So just ask the question that's there, and I usually print them out so that I actually can just write the answers, and it doesn't get so complicated, and then I keep that in their file.
Gotcha. Yep, without doubt. To Ariel's question, what if they say, what kind of business? My response to that would be, hey, great question, Ariel. Mary Beth asked me to keep that in confidence, so feel free to ask Mary Beth, and she can share that with you if she feels comfortable. So again, I'm going to point them back because, again, Mary Beth gave me your name. Now, this makes it a little bit more awkward to get to a second and third level, you know, but I would still go there if I needed to. Any other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts about reference checking? Guys, I can't tell you enough. This is the most overlooked part of the process. And this is the part of the process that will save you the most by doing it. It's so necessary, Dana. Absolutely right. It's so necessary. So I would challenge you never to overlook this part of the process, no matter how painful it is. And again, you could delegate this. You could have someone else do it. You can hire a company to do it. There are companies that do that out there. But here's the challenge. On the nonverbal cues, that person may not relay those nonverbal cues to you. So again, I would encourage you to take time to do it yourself. Questions or thoughts? Questions or thoughts? The last part we're going to cover today, and then we're going to wrap up, is, let me see if it's here, is defending the hire. Defending the hire. Okay, we're right there around page, close up. Page 167 to 169. Page 167 to 169. Nope. You know, defending the hire. So what you're going to do here is you're going to form a defense committee. Again, if you're an agent, you might get a couple of other top agents around you. You'll get a person or two that was involved in the group interview. So you'll kind of form this committee. And what you'll do, I just want to give you this visual. I'm going to take this off the screen. You're going to, in essence, sit around a table. You're going to put your finalist out in front of them. You're going to put your finalist out in front of them. Now, when I say this, when I say you're going to put your finalist out in front of you, I'm not saying to go put the person on the table in front of them. That would be awkward. You're going to go out there. You're going to have the resume. You're going to have the notes in that initial phone call of the screening of the resume. You're going to have their KPA with your notes, the thinking process interview with the notes, the life story with the notes, the motivational conversation. You're going to have some of the notes, feedback from the group interview, the reference checking. So you're going to kind of lay all this out. And you're going to say, hey, guys, help me. I'm trying to make a final decision. I want to go through the candidate with you and see what I might be missing. Now, I've done this with other regional directors, with OPs and team leaders. So you prepare all this information and you kind of go through. You share with them what you learned in the resume process, what you learned in the KPA. You give a quick description of what you learned in each of the interviews, the group interview and the life story, and let them attack you. Let them attack you. Let them try to poke holes. Their job is to help point out all the red flags, all of the concerns, all of the reasons why you might not want to be in business with that person. So their job is to poke holes wherever necessary. That way you can do what this section is called, defend the hire. If based on what you've learned right now, you can't defend the hire with your peers, then it might not be a person worth hiring. Because again, if you're starting to see these red flags before the hire, you'll probably see more of them after the hire. So again, just kind of a mental thing. Put it out there, share it with your peers, get some. I've got 2 or 3 people in my life that I bounce my hires off of every time. I just go to them one-on-one, even not even in the group, and say, hey, listen, you got 20 minutes for me? I want to run through a hire. This is the highlights. They ask me questions. They drill deep. What happens when they ask questions is I might find, wow, I didn't go there. Wow, I didn't peel back the onion that far. That's a great question. And oftentimes I'll get other questions to go back and go deeper for. Sometimes I'll say, let me go back to the reference checking. I might have missed that somewhere. And it'll give me more research to do. So when you got some peers that are really good like that they'll help you see some things that you aren't seeing. Again, perspective is all about taking you out of the process. All about creating a world where you're too close to it. You've now spent, how much time have you spent on and with this candidate? Let's map this out. How much time are we into this for? We did, hello? We did the resume. That was 2 to 3 minutes. We did the initial screening phone call, resume review. That was 10 minutes.
Michael, can you move your board over to the left? Thanks.
This whole doing this via Zoom has been really cool. How's it going for you guys? This is like new. I've done a lot of you have been on 45-minute and 1-hour calls, but a call with a PowerPoint and a whiteboard and a book, whole different ball game. So great. I'm glad to see you guys are enjoying it, because trying to do a 1.5-day class over Zoom and keeping the energy up and keeping the interaction was a concern for me. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I'm having a freaking lot of fun. So you have the resume, the phone call. Then you had the KPA validation. That was an hour. You had, what was the next interview?
Thought process.
The thought process interview. Having no travel time helps. Think about this for a second. You paid $100 to be in this class, right? Normally, you might fly somewheres, stay in a hotel for 2 days, pay $250. And here, I mean, Michael Guerra is not even wearing pants. I know that for a fact. He's sitting in his house pantless. So you don't even have to travel. You don't have to travel anywhere to be in this class. Michael, see what happens. He volunteers. The thought process interview is an hour. What's the interview after the thought process interview? Afterthought.
Motivation. Life story.
Motivation. Yep. Thank you. Life story. Then motivation. 1 hour. 1 hour. What we do after a motivation review?
Group.
So I'm gonna put group and reference check. Here's the thing. You might do the training goes group then reference checking. You may want to do reference checking before the group, because you might find something in the reference checking that's a red flag. So for instance, I'll use a team leader as an example. If I put the team leader in front of the group ahead of time and they fall in love with the team leader candidate, then I find something in the reference checking that's a red flag. It's kind of hard for me to then backpedal on that. If I'm hiring a team leader, whoever I put in front of the ALC, I've got to be really committed to hiring if they're a fan. Ariel, when you say take a break, what do you mean? Was my 6-minute break today not enough? No. So you might do the reference checking before the group interview. Here's the plus side, Ariel. We're going to end 10 minutes early, so I hope that makes up for my short break. So the group interview was, I'm going to put 1.5 hours because there's an hour for the interview, another half hour after the interview to get the feedback from the people. The reference checking, holy cow, the reference checking could easily take 2 to 4 hours without blinking an eye. The defense conversation is easily another hour. So we're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're 11, 12 hours. Again, I said that before, right? We're 11 to 12 hours in the process at this point. So you want to make sure you're ready to defend this person. You should have learned enough about them in this 12 hours in order to be ready to bulletproof yourself. Now, I've got candidates that I put through the process over 3 years. You know, in little dribs and drabs, conversation here, conversation there, opening it up, not the right time. So you're going to invest a lot of time into this process to make sure you're choosing the right person. So taking a few minutes to defend is definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. All righty. Tomorrow, we're going to bring this home. And me bringing it home in 2.5 hours, we should be able to do based on what we got accomplished today. So tomorrow, we're going to talk about drafting the offer, having the win-win conversation. So drafting the offer, win-win conversation. We're gonna brainstorm compensation structures for executive assistants. And then we're gonna get into win-win conversations, presenting the offer, setting up the 30, 60, 90, talking about all the other paperwork you might want to have. Do you use what's it called? Do you use a non-solicit agreement or a privacy agreement in order for them not to share any secrets? We're going to talk about some of those documents around the hire. And then ultimately what you do after you decide to hire the person and move forward. If we have time, I'll even break out into some organizational chart stuff where this has been focused on executive assistant. We can brainstorm if we have time, showing specialist compensation, buyer specialist compensation, lead buyer agent, listing assistant, listing specialist. I'm happy to break into some of those other structures for some of those other roles that you might hire in the process. So we'll see how much time it takes us to get through the offer process. And if we have time, we'll add some other things. I've had lots of questions regarding the recordings. We have been recording it. I haven't been vocal with telling you we're going to share it because I didn't want people to just stop showing up for the phone call. As it is, we had 110 people start the class, 77 on today, which means I must have really sucked the first 2 days. And I didn't want people to disappear. So here's the thing that we're going to do. Everyone on the call at the end of tomorrow will have access to all 4 recordings. All 4 days recordings. So if you were here, if you played, if you participated, if you're on at the end of the day tomorrow, we will give you a link to all 4 recordings. It might take us a day or 2 to get that. So we'll take attendance at the end of the day tomorrow and make sure we take care of you guys. Because again, I want you to refer back to this. What I'm also going to do as a thank you for you guys playing and being part of this first career visioning class with me, We're also going to share with you a document of a bunch of Zoom classes I did through COVID. Emily, how many Zoom classes did we do? We did like 40 to 50 Zoom classes. We did classes with Mo Anderson, Ben Kinney, Gene Rivers, Chris Suarez. We did interviews with Brian Cashman, Mariano Rivera. I'm gonna give you a link to every interview I did during COVID as a huge thank you for you guys being part of this class the last couple of days. Diana Kokoska, yeah, we've had some fun. So sound good? That's like a plan? Ahas, give me a couple ahas before we wrap out of today. The clearer you are with your goals, the easier it will be for others to help you achieve them. Love it. What else? What other ahas? Need a couple ahas to wrap out today.
The second level references was interesting perspective for me.
Go 3.
Second,
go
third
3.
level, yeah.
Go 4 if you need to. Again, past performer is the best predictor of future success. And think about if you're going to check references on your spouse before you got married. I'm joking about that, but not. Being able to call and find out about that person and it would tell you a lot about what you need to know. So,
that used to happen, Michael, in certain cultures.
Oh,
that is
without
not
a doubt, without a doubt.
My mom's brother checked references on my dad.
Love it. I remember talking to Mark King. Mark King, who you guys obviously may know with KWRI, got married a few years ago. It was his second marriage. And being a big CV instructor, he actually went through the career visioning process with his wife. And she was also a Keller Williams person. So she got it, and she did the same thing to him. So a little weird, but we are weird, so why not? You don't know what you don't know. Circle prospects around their life, reading their life story, ups and downs, go deep, check the references. Lisa would have married me. I'm willing to bet money on that, Ryan Van Hara. Thank you, guys. You're awesome. Have a great rest of your day. Looking forward to bringing this home tomorrow. Rock on.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.